Are you currently waging war against the infidel? Dreaming of the day you can become a martyr and yet Allah Akbar with bombs strapped to your chest? Stop! You don't commit acts of terror over religious fanaticism. You commit acts of terror because you don't feel you have a chance to earn a career. Well, now you can find a career that's right for you at
jihadjobs.com.
At jihadjobs.com, you'll find dream careers like camel breeder, goat shaver, hummus chef, desert realtor, and so much more. You'll also find those careers with competitive pay and other tremendous benefits like extended bereavement time if your family member was a suicide bomber, 48 hours of maternity leave,
Not for women.
and much more. Introduce yourself to another bank besides the West Bank. Stop waging war against the USA and start contributing to your 401k. Stop raping, start reaping the rewards of an exciting career at
jihadjobs.com.
your new career is just a stone's throw away. jihadjobs.com.
Website is for men only and approved under Sharia law. All women who access the website will be stoned to death. Other restrictions apply. Consult Allah for details.
jihadjobs.com.
No. On this week's episode of According to Me and Bunny, we have so much to talk about. We have an amazing guest that's going to be coming up later on this show. Sat and I are going to talk to our guest, Cheri Jacobus, about all types of things involving Trumpy the Clown. Is a Trump slide going to continue? We're going to chat about that. Plus an update on Sam's life as a Trump supporter. The asset of the week, of course. But we start discussing police officers and body cameras because it's about damn time this happens. That's now on According to Me and Bunny.
Here's a story of Polita Bunny. Annoying liberals on Twitter was her goal. She had a radio show, and it was badass, with lots of fans and lots of trolls.
Here's a story of a guy named Jason who had an awesome internet talk show of his own. There were lots of voices on the air together, but he did it all alone. Then one day Barney messaged him on Facebook, and they knew the NSA would be appalled that these two would do a show together. And now you're about to hear what it is called.
According to me
And Bunny.
According to me
And Bunny. This is the theme song for According to Me and Bunny.
From the Kensington Place studios, this is According to Me and Bunny, Barack Obama and Donald Trump's second most hated internet radio program, the 2-hour show that lasts 60 minutes. And during those next 60 minutes, sit back, be prepared to be informed, entertained, possibly offended. Listening is mandatory, and either put on your goosh pants or don't wear any pants at all, because pants are optional. That we do know here on ATMB. But I'm Jason New Wilkins, and of course, joining me, my co-host, who isn't feeling so well this evening, but she knows how much you would miss her.
Polita Bunny foo-foo, hopping through the internet, scooping up some liberals and bopping them on that.
Good evening, Sam Jenny.
Good evening, Jason DeWilkins. How are you?
I'm doing well. Now, folks, I want you to know the dedication that Sam has to us. You know, she didn't want to let down the According to Me and Bunny Brigade.
Dedicated.
So you guys are in the chat room here at K98 Talk, so thank you for being there. And if you're not in the chat, thank you for listening to us on our great affiliates like SHR Media or Right Talk USA. High Point Radio, by the way, newest affiliate, Rebooting Liberty Radio with our good friend Jared Day. We just start with them this week as well. And Sam didn't want to let all those guys down, did you, Sam?
I did. No. And you know what? Beaker's not wearing pants. He says so in the chat.
Yes.
God love him.
We got another one. Beaker, you're the man. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for being in the chat room. We have an awesome show lined up for you. Of course, if I could actually say her last name, I will do it. But Cheri Jacobus is going to be on the show later on.
Dude,
and
I was working on that this
I'm really
afternoon.
looking forward to
I was,
that.
like, phonetically writing it out, because I know I'll butcher it. Even though I wrote it out, I'll butcher it because
I butchered it in the intro. But we'll redo it in the podcast. It'll sound perfect, right? We'll pretend that didn't happen.
Awesome.
But we have a great action-packed show for you. Of course, we're going to give you some more insider information on life behind the scenes, behind enemy lines, as she being the bunny, continues to be a Trump supporter on Twitter. So she'll give you all the scoop on that. We'll have the Asshat of the Week. And again, an amazing interview later on in the program, which I'm glad to share with you. So thanks for listening to the program. We're glad that you guys are here. And Sam, I know that. How long have you not been feeling well? How many days has this been going on? You said your daughter wasn't feeling well, right? How long has that been?
Well, yeah. Minnie Fu, number one, was pretty sick for about 3 days. She got sick on Halloween, of course.
So about Saturday.
And I was, my daughter shares. She's loving that way. But I was kind of hoping it would wait until the weekend to kick me, but it decided to kick me pretty good this morning, and I have felt like hammered crap all day. So, yay me. It's awesome.
Yeah, see, I haven't felt myself since, like, daylight savings time. It's like
really,
Sunday.
You know what? That's a good point.
It's thrown me off.
You think we'd be like, hey, an extra hour. It has completely screwed me up.
Yeah, it's totally. And you know what? I want to share this with you, Sam. And for those of you who are feeling the ill effects of daylight savings time, like I am, I think Sam's not feeling well. This time, 6 months from now, a little public service announcement I wanted to share with you guys really quick.
Greetings, this is Ahmed Mohammed, or as many of you Americans called me, Clock Boy. I know many of you are still trying to get adjusted to daylight savings time, and in today's day and age of fancy digital clocks, some of you may still have the wrong time throughout the house. While it might be too late now, when it comes time to spring ahead in 6 months, don't be unprepared. As an expert on electronics, I can build you a beautiful timepiece and will send these to you for free as my gift to you, my American friend. All you need to do is send me an email with your name, address, and place of employment. It's also very important you specify what religion you are, as certain denominations will get priority attention. Send an email to clockboy@qatar.isis.com, and I will get those watches out to you right away. Go into next daylight savings with a bang. This is Ahmed Clockboy Muhammad signing off, and as all peace-loving misunderstood Muslims say, Allah Akbar.
See, Sam, that's all we have to do. Next time, when we spring ahead 6 months from now, why don't we all reach out to Clockboy?
Clockboy.
And he'll help us out. Again, Clockboy. Yeah, clockboy@qatar.isis.com. He's going to send you a free watch or free clock just because you're a friend. He feels bad about leaving us,
Yeah, and as long as you are a certain religion, you get your clock quicker.
Yeah, priority shipping. Oh, yeah. Just make sure you specify.
Yeah,
I think Christians get it overnighted.
Yeah,
that's what I hear.
Really
it's
awesome.
crazy.
What a giver.
He is. He's a good guy. But so again, just a little PSA for those of you who aren't feeling like yourself since daylight savings time. Wanted to help you out with that. So really quick, Sam, I wanted to talk about this, but in a little different perspective. Of course, many of you have seen the kind of the teasers on Facebook or on Twitter today. We're going to talk cameras on police officers. And once again, it takes another incident for me to get pissed off about that. Once again, I go down the road of advocating for this. And we know the story about Ben Fields in South Carolina last week. We saw that he was basically fired in the public of court opinion. Or I guess was fired in social media court. Because let's be honest, that's what is okay to do nowadays. I don't need to tell you what happened. He was in South Carolina. He pulled a girl out of her desk and whipped her on the ground. And everyone saw it. And yes, agree with you. It looks bad. Yeah. But context matters. And we know this. Here's what we do know. We know she was asked by her teacher to stop using the phone in class. She refused. We know that she was asked to give the phone to the teacher. She refused. We know that the teacher asked her to go to the principal's office. She refused. When the assistant principal, the vice principal, came down to the class and asked her to leave and come to his office, she refused. So then when the cop comes into the room and says, hey, you need to get out of class, she refused. At what point do you stop saying pretty please? When you try to physically remove her, she was trying to fight him off. That's the other part that, of course, no one wanted to see until several days later. Now, again, does it look bad? Sure. And let me just say this. The parents of this girl have been silent on this. And I'm going to tell you right now, if my son is disrespectful enough to do what this girl did and then hit a cop and he's trying to get him out of his seat, the cop could have beat my kid's ass, as far as I'm concerned. And then I would have been way more pissed off at my kid than I would have been at the cop.
Right.
Now, here's the issue. What he did was over the top. I get it. Your life wasn't at risk, dude. It's not a fight or flight situation, okay?
Right,
she's a punk-ass, disrespectful kid. But she's still a kid.
Yeah, how old was she?
14, 15, I don't know. I bet she was a teen. She's a high school kid.
Jeez.
And so the problem is we all want to play judge and jury via social media and a phone video. And
Well,
look
yeah,
at
we love that.
right, exactly. I mean, look at what happened in Baltimore. Look at what happened in Ferguson. You have video, but it doesn't tell the context of any of the story whatsoever.
Of course not.
And when it comes to witnesses, when it comes to stuff like that, here's what's happening now. Let's look at Michael Brown. Let's look at that. What happened there? It was no, man. Michael wasn't doing nothing, man. He's hands up, don't shoot, man. That's what happened, man. He was innocent. He just had his hands up, he wasn't doing nothing.
You're gonna have more hate tweets than I do.
Oh, I don't give a crap. And it's pants down, wipe up, or whatever the hell that chant was. And it became popular in social media for 3 weeks. And then you put these same eyewitnesses on the witness stand in the trial and say, hey, so tell me again what happened. And by the way, if you perjure yourself, you're going to jail. And they're like, oh, see what happened was he actually was going after the cop. My bad, man. Like 3 months ago, I thought it was one way, but man, are you going to throw me in jail? Man, he was going after the cop. My bad, man. I'm sorry for lying about that stuff. My bad. Of course.
Do we have a disclaimer on the show?
Well, that's what it is. I don't give a crap. I'm not going to apologize for it. Which is why I've been an advocate of police officers having closed-circuit television cameras on at all times. And not because I think cops are bad people. I support and admire police around the whole country. I have a love and admiration of what they do every single day. But I want to tell the whole story of an incident.
Well,
rather than just footage shot from a cell phone.
If they had the whole story, then the police aren't always the bad guy.
Exactly.
You know?
Darren Wilson's life in Ferguson's over. Right?
Right.
I mean, Ben Fields, this guy in South Carolina, his life's done.
Oh, yeah, it's done.
We've seen what dash cams, even just dash cams, do for incidents where you pull someone over for speeding or getting out of the car drunk and all those things. We've seen with dash cams what a person who's considered quote unquote guilty or a defendant can't say now that they're on video. Can you imagine if every incident, including the one in South Carolina, was on video the entire time? And there are police officers who have cameras on or about them, and the evidence of not only, and this is what people think. People think, well, if you put a camera on a cop, the cops are going to not be pigs and they're not going to beat people. I look at it the other way. If you're on camera, if you know that every single police officer that you're interacting with is recording your entire conversation, what does that do to you as the defendant?
Right.
Do you still act a fool, or you go, oh man, this is on tape, so sooner or later they're going to find out what the hell's going on?
Sure.
It's got to happen, and I'm tired of cops being run into the mud and discredited and ridiculed because of not having any surveillance whatsoever and not being able to tell the full story. And so you get a half-assed social media response, or you get a 10-second crappy, smartphone video in a classroom that apparently tells a story and gets somebody fired. Tired of it.
And the cops are being neutered because they don't have any way, they do their jobs and someone decides, well, this was them doing their jobs with extreme measure, or that because of my color or because I'm a woman. The cops are really being neutered. They cannot almost do their jobs. It's almost like when you talk about teachers sometimes. We have a really interesting comparison there because teachers almost can't do their jobs because some parents don't let the teachers do their jobs. It's the same thing for the cops. They cannot do their jobs because they might get in trouble.
And I want to have the cops back. What do you think? I know a lot of people find this controversial. A lot of people have concerns over privacy issues and so on and so forth. But as me, it's well worth the investment. These are the kind of things that as a taxpayer, I go, you know what? I'm cool with that. Invest in that all day long and be able to show the world, show the media, show the news. Hey, you want to see the 10-minute conversation between me and this so-called abused defendant? Here it is. Listen, you have at it. Because it'll change not only what the cops will be looked at as in the media and in the public, but what these quote-unquote innocent people are looked at as.
Well, and I'm sorry, Mark in the chat room says I'm being misogynist. Some cops are being spayed, not just neutered. Thank you
That's
for
true.
that, Mark.
Yeah, it is both. You're right. I mean, that is very, very misogynist of you.
I know. I'm a sexist. What can I say?
I guess only male cops exist in Sam's world. So speaking of Sam's world, Sam, why don't you give us a little insight in regards to how your day has been? Of course, little behind the scenes, we talked about who our guest was going to be last night. We kind of confirmed, hey, this is who we're going to have as our guest on the show, and we're really excited to have her here in a little bit. And all hell broke loose. So I'm glad that you guys are here. Sam, share with us what it's been like behind enemy lines and on the Twitters today, because who doggy?
This is ridiculous. I talked about this a little bit. I think it was last week even, or the week before, how I had been doing this, going under as a Trump supporter, supposedly, and watching this movement. And beyond the fact that, we talked about that you've got your crazy neo-Nazis and you've got your people who are scared, this is a concerted effort. And what I'm noticing now is there are literally accounts out there that their whole job is to tell the Trump people where to go vote in polls. Because, the polls are such a big deal. Anytime there's a poll change, Trump gets all pissed off about, well, that poll's rigged. But they're rigging the polls, man. And they are openly doing it, but on the Trump train or the Trump 2016 or Make America Great. They have all these little hashtags, which is cool. I mean, that's what you do on Twitter. You have hashtags, and that's how you kind of come together. But there are concerted efforts to make sure people are voting and voting often within these polls. And it's crazy, because then you're also seeing them talk about how they're reaching out to Democrats. And these are supposedly, Republicans and conservatives. They're reaching out to Democrats saying, come join the Trump train and come be a part of this movement. And we're all Americans and we're going to get our country back. And I just want to throttle these people. I'm like, look what we have being under Democrats. Do you really want to bring the Democrats over into this? But again, they're supporting a Democrat, so I guess it's not that surprising. But man, the other thing I noticed under my little Trump sock was that our guest, Cheri Jacobus, is really popular in their tweets. They are very unkind. They are obsessed with her. And the reason they're obsessed with her is she is effectively taking apart that movement via social media. You should see the obsession they have with our guest tonight. And part of it is she is that effective, and she's come up with some really interesting ideas. She is talking about it in the media, and they're scared of her. And you can tell they're scared of her because she's all over the place. And I've been lucky enough to actually talk to her a little bit, and I've been really impressed with how well she's keeping it together, because I can tell you from my own experience that these are some hateful bastards on that side of things. Tiny sweet butterflies. I mean, these are nasty, gross people. And it's interesting because the moment I started talking about having Cheri on tonight, the moment I tweeted it out, suddenly I was being attacked by some crazy sock who we're pretty sure is a Breitbart editor. He was all over my timeline insulting how I look, and then he was calling Cheri unstable and crazy and called her a bimbo. They were after Rick Wilson, who is also, of course, pretty outspoken about not wanting Trump anywhere near the presidency. These are some people that I would seriously not want to be alone in a room with. It's not just, I hate your ideas and you suck. It's, I will destroy you because you disagree with me and you don't want Trump, my king, to be your king. It's beyond supporting a candidate. There are people out there who are like, I love Mark Rubio and I love Rand and Bush. No, there's no Bushes. But you know what I'm saying? There are people out there who have their candidates. And they're passionate and they're excited and they love what they stand for and they're telling you what they're going to do. Cruz supporters are great. I love Cruz supporters. They're all positive, just like Cruz, right? But man, the Trump supporters scare the hell out of me. And not in a good way. I like people who are outspoken. Look at me. I'm not exactly quiet and sweet. I like people to kind of be assholes. That's who we are. But these people make me uncomfortable. And what I'm seeing is a concerted effort to grow that and make it bigger. And there are people out there who will say, if you don't accept Trump, get out the way and we're going to ship you off to Mexico too. And it's bizarre. And it's bizarre to see people who I have thought on the right were intelligent and excited act like maniacs and morons. It's just unbelievable. And as my sock, here's the scariest thing of all. The nastier I get, the uglier the thing I say, the more racist I say, and you should see some of the things I tweet. It is nasty. The uglier I am, the more followers I get. And that is what freaks me out. And don't get me wrong. I know people follow Bunny because I tell people to F off with a chainsaw. I get that that's out there. And we like to be tough and joke. But this is not joking. When I say something about wetbacks or dindus or send them back to savages, and I get 30 followers because I say that, that scares the hell out of me, Jason. I don't get it.
Well, here's what I also don't understand about the entire thing for quite some time. Those who consider themselves so-called conservatives, those who consider you would have considered even just months ago to be a quote-unquote ally.
Yeah.
Are they so concerned and wrapped up in winning that they don't care who the actual winner is? In other words, are they just want to say, we're Republicans and we won? Yeah, but who are you supporting in the process?
It's terrifying.
Who gives a crap if you win if what you're standing on is crap? And that's what this guy is.
And here's the other thing that I don't understand. And they're going to crucify me for saying this, but whatever. Rubio screwed up. And he was with the Gang of Eight, and he supported all these immigration things that are unpopular. He figured out that was wrong, and he's decided that that's wrong. He's going to close the border. He's going to send the Dreamers home. He's been very direct about what he's going to do with immigration. But they call him a flip-flopper. But there's video of Trump not 4 years ago advocating for the DREAM Act, and they forgive him that. I don't understand this mentality because in my mind, people on the right are individual thinkers, that we are not a group. We don't all just follow along. That's why it's so hard to win us over, because we all have ideas and we don't do groupthink. So I don't understand how we should vet all of them but Trump, that we should vet and hold them accountable for decisions they may have made in the past and not accept that maybe they changed their minds. But it's okay Trump changed his mind because that's what businessmen do. And it's okay that he's an asshole because he's wealthy and he's powerful and he'll take the country back. I just don't understand this way of thinking. When Cruz was up on that debate stage and he put those moderators in their place and he said, you guys suck and we're tired of this and we're not doing this anymore, his idiot followers still said Trump won. Trump didn't he spoke like 28 minutes. And his followers, yay, victory. What did he do? I don't understand it, Jason. I don't get it. And, originally the whole sock thing was kind of fun, and then it became kind of troubling. Now I just sit and shake my head. And I marvel at how poor my grammar is, how I deliberately misspell things, how I will deliberately use the wrong form of your or there. And nobody says a word to me. They retweet me, they pat me on the back, and they follow me.
Dear God.
It's unbelievable. Yeah, it's horrible. Who are these people?
Well, and anybody who has any sense of paying attention saw that in last debate, the clear winners, and this isn't just what we said, even though we talked about this on our wrap-up show, the clear winners of that debate were Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz by a mile. And
absolutely. And
the actual polls have shown that, not even just polls as that, but favorability ratings. If you've seen that just came out either yesterday or the day before. Right. In regards to, okay, so based on that debate, what did your level of favorability towards this candidate was before and then? And the increase in Cruz and Rubio is astronomical. And yet the decrease in Bush is also astronomical, and Kasich as well, which anybody with eyes and ears saw that and went, well, yep, that's how I felt too. So,
did you see also, though, that Christie's favorability has gone up as well?
It has, but I'm not surprised by that. Here's the thing.
I'm not.
For the average, quote-unquote, I don't like the Democrats, but I don't really pay attention person, Christie's great. If you don't know what Christie stands for, he's awesome. The problem is, if you know what he stands for, he sucks. That's the issue.
But he's so likable. He really is likable. Like,
sure.
Like, oh, Trump is charming, and he's the everyday American. He really isn't. He's an ass. Christie is that everyday American. He's the guy you go have a beer with. He's the guy who's going to bring wings to the party. That's Christie. But you're right. His ideas suck. But I like him more than I like Trump.
Well, I'll tell you what, Sam. You know what doesn't suck? You know whose idea doesn't suck? Do you know somebody you'd want to have a beer with?
Who?
Our friends at rwnjfunding.com, of course. Why wouldn't you want to do that? Because instead of going to GoFundMe or Kickstarter, you have an alternative. Our great sponsor, rwnjfunding.com. And here's what they're going to do just for you signing up and taking advantage of it. The first 10 folks who start their campaign on rwnjfunding.com Once you get to $100, they're going to throw an extra $10 in just because they love you and just because they love us and they're proud sponsors of the show. Instead of raising funds or starting a campaign with people who don't have your values and principles in mind, do the right thing and partner with the right people. And that's our friends at rwnjfunding.com. Here's the way you check out and get more information about our friends at rwnjfunding.com. You either go to rwnjfunding.com or, of course, you can go to our website, polititainment.net, the little website that could. And you click on the RWNJ funding banner, and boom, you're there. It'll take you right to the site. Start your campaign today. If you're going to, do it with the right people, with the right principles and the right values. Our good friends at rwnjfunding.com.
Say that again.
rwnjfunding.com.
Faster.
No. All right, when we come back, Cheri Jacobus is going to be joining us. We're going to be talking more Trump. Stay tuned. That's next on According to Me and Bunny. In our best efforts to anger Bernie Sanders, and because we believe in capitalism, According to Me and Bunny will be back after these messages from our sponsors. All right, Polititainment Patriots, we're going to pull the audience here. Raise your hand if you know all that is to be known and all the ins and outs about workplace and employment law. Huh? There's only one guy with his hand raised. Well, that doesn't surprise me. But anyway, go ahead and ask me a question. What is it? Oh, who knows anything about workplace and employment law? I'm glad you asked. It's the guy raising his hand. Proud sponsor of Polititainment and an expert you can trust, attorney Ted Hong. Are you an employee who's been fired or being denied benefits for being a crazy right-wing extremist? Or are you a business owner who wants to make sure the feds and unions don't come after you for non-compliant workplace regulations or labor contracts? Well, then you need Ted Hong. Ted's been doing this for over 30 years. Plus, him and his amazing legal team also handle family and property law and estate litigation. You need to call our guy, attorney Ted Hong, at 808-933-1919 or visit tedhonglaw.com. Ted Hong, an experienced and principled attorney you can trust. 808-933-1919 or tedhonglaw.com.
While you're liking dozens of cat memes and pictures of people's food, make sure you like us on Facebook.
And we know you're on Facebook. We get your Candy Crush requests. But good idea, Bunny. Like the According to Me and Bunny show on Facebook simply by searching for According to Me Show and click like.
We share all the latest updates about the show, plus our favorite news stories, so like us.
Hey, Sam, don't you have your own Bunny Facebook page?
Yes, like my page too. Find me on Facebook and like the GOP Bunny page.
GOP Bunny page? Ugh. That's awful. Why would you do that?
I have wanted to change it for years, but Mark Zuckerberg is a fascist bigot pig. Anyway, Facebook.com/According to Me Show and Facebook.com/GOP Bunny.
Bunny and Boehner sitting in a tree. KISS. Okay. Because our guest is going to be joining us soon, I figured, get up, stretch up, dance. It's time to do the Trumpy hump. Oh, Trumpy baby. Oh, Trumpy baby.
All right, stop what you're doing, because he's about to ruin the well-spoken candidate you used to. He looks funny, but he's got a lot of money. See, and at least for now, he is GOP. Now gather round when he comes to your town and prepare to laugh at the sideshow clown. He's got little dignity, but lots of wealth. Now just let him introduce himself. His name is Trumpy, pronounced with a umpy, with a face that always looks like he's grumpy. And old ladies who own property, please allow him to bump thee. He leads the polls, y'all, but just like Humpty Dumpty, he's gonna drop out like a high school flunky. He says he's smart, he's good with money, that's funny. He's all to this arrogant hack with hair that's just ridiculous. His supporters are on Twitter all like syphilis. Hey, yo, Republicans, how aren't you sick of this? Yeah, I call him names, but look at him, it's easy. And nothing stops him from being sleazy. He's a creep. You challenge him and there's drama. The only person with thinner skin is Obama. It's crazy. His supporters amaze me. They call me a rhino, but it just don't faze me. They really think the guy has a chance, and they even got a new dance. The Trumpy dance is your chance to hump the Trump. Oh, Trumpy baby. Do the Trumpy hump. Do the Trumpy hump. Yeah, Trumpy come on, baby. Come on. Do the Trumpy hump. Do the Trumpy hump. Oh, Trumpy baby. Yeah, well, you know Trump humpers, they're doing the Trumpy hump, y'all. Come on. Do the Trumpy hump. Do the Trumpy hump. Mouth breathers, do the Trumpy hump. Do the Trumpy hump. Dumb asses, do the Trumpy hump. Do the Trumpy hump, y'all. If you're not thinking you're doing the Trumpy hump, come on.
According to me and Bunny, they keep it straight gangsta, yo.
According to me and Bunny, never PC, never gluten-free.
Welcome back to the show, folks. All right. I hope you are as excited as I am. Our amazing guest, I believe, is on the line. Sam, is that correct?
I think I added somebody. I hope it's Cheri.
Cheri, you there?
I'm here.
Cheri Jacobus, of course, joining us here on According to Me and Bunny. Now, Cheri, real quick, Sam has a lot to discuss with you, but if you're new to the program, we, like Fox News, want to make sure we're fair and balanced here. And so,
good for you.
Sam and I are really not the biggest fans of Trump, and we figured, okay, well, how can we balance that?
I'm so surprised.
So I figured we'd have you, because you're a huge supporter. At least that's what I saw on the Twitters. Is that correct? Or maybe I'm mistaken.
Well, not exactly.
Oh,
I
my
haven't
bad.
chosen my candidate. Clever slam against John McCain, regardless of which politics, for a presidential candidate, particularly one of the same party, to make that type of a comment was just beyond comprehension to me. And on top of some of the other things, I just thought, okay, you know what? Somebody's got to get out there and just go after this guy. And I'm one of many. I'm part of a growing army, aren't I?
You are.
You are. And real quick, that was total sarcasm, by the way.
Hey, Cheri. You know, you can ignore Jason. I'm so glad you called. It is so good to say hello to you because there are so few people who get picked on more than I do. So I am so glad you are here, and I'm so excited that you're here. And, you know, it is really encouraging to see someone who has been on Fox and who's in social media, who's willing to speak out as openly as you have been. And you have been consistent and determined, and you have been fearless. And so I'm.
Well, you know what? There's no reason not to be. Seriously, I mean, why shouldn't we all be?
I'll tell you what. When I'm looking through this group of crazies, and they are obsessed with how much they dislike you, and you still fight on, sister. I've bumped knuckles with you. I think that says a lot about you. And you know, I think what people need to understand is that for you, this goes back, and that there's some history here. And we don't have to go into detail on history, but when did this really start for you?
Well, I lived in Washington, D.C. for 30 years. I worked on Capitol Hill. I've run campaigns. I taught in a master's program at GW, worked at the RNC, was part of the whole thing, and have been self-employed for a number of years and decided that I wanted to live in New York. So I'm up here, had no intention of doing anything on a presidential campaign because, quite frankly, you know, it's hard to do all that travel and, you know, relocate elsewhere. And sure. I got a call from an old friend who was on the exploratory committee for Trump and said, would you consider come working for us? I said, look, I'll do a meeting with you, you know, talk to you because you're a friend. And on my way there, I called and I said, I'm running a little bit late, you know, rain in Manhattan. And he says, you don't mind if I bring along the campaign manager. So it was a good meeting, and they made it sound attractive, and I could, you know, stay in New York. And I thought, wow, maybe I should think about this. But my only problem was that it was for Donald Trump. You know, I'm not a fan. I thought I'll ruin my, you know, my reputation, and so I couldn't really meet with them again. Parents were coming. I was going to be in Washington for a week. Really, you know, kind of, you know, needed to talk to them. It just wasn't adding up to me. But, you know, had a second meeting because I wanted to see, okay,
sure,
you should, you know, yeah, a second meeting doesn't hurt. Another meeting at Trump Tower. This one was all kind of crazy, and I couldn't wait to get out of there. And you know, this is all I've got the emails and the text with my friends and what I said afterwards, which is whoa, and you know, he left soon after that. However, I can tell you unequivocally, and this has not been denied by the campaign manager, even though he tried to lie about this post Washington Post, and eventually he had to admit there were 2 meetings with me. In both meetings, the super PAC was talked about extensively.
Oh, sure.
Extensively. This was prior to the announcement. There was a super PAC, and it was in play. This business about him self-funding and saying, I'm not going to do super PACs, that is not true. So, that's just the way it is. And as we know, Trump attended 2 events for that super PAC,
right?
And his super PAC, and on one of them was his daughter Ivanka's in-laws, and the mother-in-law gave $100,000 to that PAC. Now, that type of collusion is illegal, yes. So they may have a legal problem. I don't know. That's why I can't say too much, because I may have to put my hand on the Bible and testify at some point, which I'm happy to do. I went on the record with the Post. But this business, you see this on Twitter with his followers. You see all his followers saying, "Oh, he's going to self-fund.
He can't be bought.
Against super PAC.
He can't be bought."
Well, let me tell you something. Something just came out before you went on the air. Politico put a piece out. So it's kind of breaking news here.
Cool.
Politico has a piece that says that Trump courted the mega donors he now scorns. Donald Trump reached out to Sheldon Adelson, fellow casino rich guy, Paul Singer, and the Koch brothers. And the Sheldon Adelson meeting, they set one up. The campaign manager and Sheldon Adelson's guy, who I know, and Sheldon Adelson backed out of the meeting. They never met. They tried to get a meeting with Paul Singer, same thing. Now, Adelson and Singer both, they're both like Rubio, and Koch brothers too. Everybody's kind of avoiding Trump on this. So Trump knows that these billionaires can give as much money as they want to super PACs, but they're not going to give to his. So guess what? It's real easy for him to say, I'm not going to have a super PAC. Because guess what? He can't raise the big money with a super PAC.
Because nobody wants to give him any money, which is interesting.
Nobody wants to, and that was part of the concern in these meetings, too, is like they even said nobody wants to give money to a billionaire. So in the discussions about the super PAC, where I'm sitting there thinking, I didn't sign an NDA. So anyway, I couldn't believe they're talking about it in front of me, along with a whole lot of other stuff that I have not revealed yet, and there's no need to yet. But what bothers me, and I don't mean to ramble.
Ramble.
These people on Twitter come after me, people that I don't know. They follow me or they troll me, and then they want blocking you. When I post a poll, when I post an article that has a study that somebody else did, for them to say, it's lies, it's all lies.
Oh, yeah.
That's when I don't want to engage with these people. It takes up too much of my time. It's like, if you have a problem, call the reporter, contact the people who did the study, but don't tell me that I'm lying because I posted an article, or they think the quote's when I extrapolate a quote and put it up there directly from the article. And they say, you're lying, you're lying.
This is who they are. This is exactly.
No, Pumpkin, I'm not lying.
No, Pumpkin. And the thing is, you're spot on, is they make it very personal. It's not about the content. It's not about what you're talking about. It's, I must destroy you because you're hurting my Messiah. You're saying things I don't want to be true. But the reality is most of it's true. And instead of being angry at Trump, they get mad at you and they attack you.
It's identical to Obama supporters.
We know a lot of these folks on Twitter are the egg accounts. They're fake. It's part of AstroTurf. And Cheryl Atkinson does a beautiful thing, which we linked to today, and posted the link to it. She explains how this AstroTurfing is done by campaigns and by anybody else. These are fake profiles. Caught somebody a few days ago. Fake profile picture. It was one of those stock photos that you buy.
Yep.
Yeah, and then they superimposed the Trump logo on the hat. Completely fake.
Oh yeah.
So they do this all the time, and studies have shown they're doing it, and we've caught some of them doing it.
We know they're doing it.
And Forbes is the one that had the study. They had an article about the study that says less than 40% of Trump's social media followers are even eligible to vote. And because there's so many of these fake ones out there.
Yeah, less of them are real. And what's really fun is when it's like the women in the bikinis and they're like, you're so ugly and you're Abby, and you go find their bikini picture. Hey, you're fake. Then they block you. That's my favorite,
Yeah. And this is something that took a lot of people by surprise. We have a large field, a lot of Republicans. But look, most Americans aren't familiar with these people. They're not going to bother to be familiar. They were familiar with Donald Trump because The Apprentice
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, he had over 6 million viewers. People know him from The Apprentice. One of these women just tweeted me claiming that she's real. She's not a fake profile, doesn't have a fake profile. She knows Trump from TV. So it's like, oh, great.
He's
So
real.
he comes in there with this name ID.
Yeah.
People who many have never voted before. They're not familiar with candidates,
Yep.
but they know him because they watch him on TV. So, you know, this is what happens when you have a reality show star, running for a high office. But I'll tell you something. This man does not want to be president. We know that. I don't think he wants to be the nominee. I think he's going to look for some kind of a graceful exit so he
Yep.
can say he wins. Because the last thing he wants to do is run against Hillary Clinton and have to bash one of his very good dear friends.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Well, there's the whole story about how Bubba gave him a call a couple weeks before, and then suddenly he was running for president. And a lot of people have speculated that Bubba said, hey, I want you to run and divide up this base so my wife can win. And
and I think Bubba wanted him to run third party. Eventually he split off. Now remember,
Sure.
Bill Clinton in 92 won with a plurality, not a majority.
Mhm.
He was not capable of getting in a majority, and Ross Perot gave him a plurality.
Yep.
And that he wanted that for Hillary because, as you know, her negatives are so astronomically high.
She's
The
awful.
Clintons are looking at that and saying, gosh, we have no wiggle room because everybody already knows who she is. There's not really new information.
Nope.
So we have to get her in with a plurality. How do you do that? Trump. Call
Bring in
Trump,
Trump.
our good old buddy.
And he loves Bill. He has said several times Bill is his favorite president ever. He has even admitted to he's much more of a Democrat than a Republican. And, I don't understand when we're dealing with his followers and his supporters and you point these things out to them, they don't care. It's okay for Trump
They
to
don't
change. It's okay for
They
Trump
say
to
you're
say
lying. They say
Oh.
you're lying.
Oh, you're lying. And you don't.
You're lying.
You're a loser. You're a loser, and he's a winner. That's my favorite when they call you the loser, and they're the fake Avi. I guess really, what do you think we can do here? I know that you're very vocal in social media. I know you've been in media a long time. What can we do to change minds, or can we change minds at this point?
Well, at this point, it gets a little rough out there. They say a lot of horrible things, and it doesn't really matter because everybody knows what they are. When they say horrible things and post horrible things, they aren't changing hearts and minds. They're basically showing that everything we're saying about them is true.
Yes.
So they're not helping themselves. There might have been a little bit of shock value early on, but everybody knows now most of them are fake. And they know these tactics, the Saul Alinsky tactics.
Yeah.
And it's not going to work. They're not winning over new people. They are turning people off. At some point, here's what I think the problem is. Some of the those in the right-wing media, radio, TV, authors,
Yeah.
and some of the right-wing sites who are supporting Trump because it's good for their ratings, it's good for their bottom line,
Yeah.
and they like that. And that's what they want. I think that and everybody knows this, they can deny it until they're blue in the face, but we all know it. Look, a lot of these people made their names and their fortunes when there was a Clinton in the White House.
True.
They want it again. Hillary Clinton in the White House sells books when you put out your anti-Hillary book.
Oh,
When
yeah.
you're going to do And so this is, Glenn Beck called some of them on it publicly. He was confused, and they're like, hey, we all like ratings, but at some point, come on, guys. I have a hunch that, we tend to always, in primaries, there's all these fights, and then everybody comes together in the end. And I think that some of this is going to stick.
I do
This
too.
feels like a betrayal when people are in this just for ratings or for a buck. And again, some of the tactics that they're employing, primaries can get rough, but this stuff is over the top, and this is not what Republicans do. And that's why we know that these people are not Republicans, many of them. This is something different. They're not going to support somebody else if Trump is not the nominee.
Nope.
And that's why this feels so foreign to so many people who have worked in Republican politics for so long and been in the trenches.
Well, and when there are people that you have, and this is my world and only a couple years in grassroots and social media, but there are people who I have relationships with suddenly are attacking me and accusing me of being a Hillary Clinton plant and calling me a liberal because I'm like, this dude is a lunatic and he's not a conservative and he's not a Republican and he has no ideas of his own. They don't they don't say, "Oh, you're right. Let me look at him." It's, "Oh, Bunny, you've betrayed the party. You're a liberal. You deserve Hillary or whatever." And for me,
the talking points are running thick, aren't they?
I can't. I'm not going to be able to let some of that go. And I know I need to.
And Hillary's negatives aren't quite as bad as Donald Trump's.
No.
And every head-to-head poll that's ignored whenever we post it on Twitter, they just ignore that. The head-to-head poll shows that Donald Trump is the one guy in the field who can't beat Hillary. You've got Carson and Rubio and Cruz and Jeb. And I don't know about him, but that keeps going back and forth. But you've got several strong Republican candidates that all beat Hillary, especially Rubio. Especially Carson. I guess they're all doing it. Trump does not. He cannot win. He is unelectable. And I'm telling you another thing. This guy should never be commander-in-chief. We should never have somebody like him in charge of and responsible for the lives and the safety of our fighting men and women overseas. Especially when we see how Hillary let down people with Benghazi. Can you imagine Trump?
No.
And him lying about it? I just don't think that we need that in any president, particularly a Republican.
Well, he can't win swing states. He's not going to take Colorado or Florida. He's just not going to win them because there are too many people who hate him. You have moderates who hate him, who will never vote for him, especially in a swing state. Colorado, he's in trouble.
There's a new poll that has something like 25% of Republicans say they will never vote for Donald Trump under any circumstances, and only 8% of Democrats say they would never vote for Hillary. So that tells you a lot right there. Look, this guy doesn't want to be president. His whole agenda was to jump in there and just basically screw around with the Republican Party, backstab a few people out of vendettas. This is a man who has a chip on his shoulder. He doesn't forget any perceived slight or real slight. He's like an elephant in that way. He remembers it, and he wants to get back at all of his perceived enemies. I look at him as somebody who, as a kid, his parents had to pay kids to come to his birthday parties. He's not likable. Look, he has to pay the Clintons. He has to pay the Clintons to come to his wedding.
Yeah, but you know what? He did it. That's what's so screwy in my mind is he was willing to pay the Clintons to come to his wedding, and now he's kind of doing them a favor with this. That's what it feels like. How can I help Hillary get to the White House? Anything for Bill.
I think that he is in this to help his brand, but also he wants to hurt Republicans.
I think
and that's why I see him now slamming the other candidates for super PACs and for Paul Singer for supporting Rubio and Adelson, who's leaning Rubio, and now the Koch brothers. When here we now know that Donald Trump himself went hat in hand, and shaking the tin can for some money from these guys. They didn't want him. They're canceling meetings. They find ways not to meet with him. They didn't want to support him. That's the only reason Donald Trump is out there slamming them now is because they didn't support him and he wanted them to.
I think I love that because everything about him, everything of supporters, you can't buy Donald Trump. Lobbyists don't buy Donald Trump. The establishment is going to go down. Trump is the establishment. Trump owns these people. It's unbelievable.
Trump has, yes, and Donald Trump also has establishment people and consultants working for him. Roger Stone has been in politics for decades.
Oh,
and
yeah.
He was Trump's consultant for many, many years.
He's
and
special.
He left supposedly after the Megyn Kelly comments because it was when it gets too rough for Roger Stone, it's pretty rough.
It's bad, yeah.
And Trump's campaign manager was top aide to former Congressman Bob Ney of Ohio, who was investigated and then went to prison in the Jack Abramoff scandal. And Corey Lewandowski was the chief of staff, top aide, and part of that whole thing. And I won't go into any more there because a lot of the information I have, I'm just not going to say.
Oh, no.
But he also was arrested for bringing a gun into the House office building.
Oh.
He's a long time worked for the Koch brothers organization, American Prosperity, up until he went to the Trump campaign. So the Trump campaign and the Trump political organization is chock full of political operatives and consultants that all of these Trump supporters claim they hate.
Well, he's full of the
Imagine that.
establishment, and I think it's going to get real interesting. And now what's going to happen with the Politico piece is they're going to say, well, Politico sucks, and he'll say it's a terrible site, and he can't believe it's still in business, blah blah blah, and the supporters will ignore it. So again, we'll just have to really push that. I want to give you an opportunity to tell people where they can find you because, just spending 15 minutes on the phone with you has been amazing for me. I want them to be able to find you in social media or where they can listen to you or see you where you've been on Fox or your radio appearances. How do they find you?
Well, I don't really. Sometimes I put my TV. Somebody gets my TV segments and puts them up there as a couple on the YouTube channel. If you just Google me on videos, you'll see some of the TV appearances. But I got to tell you, I've been on about 1,500 times since 1997. I was one of the earliest guests on Fox News when they first came out.
That's awesome.
Yes.
That's awesome.
So I've been on a lot, something I do CNN. I took myself off of MSNBC some years ago when things started changing a little bit too much over there. And I've done a few other things. So I've been around for a while. And I'm not a kid by any stretch of the imagination. And then also, of course, on Twitter. And then all the information in my profile. And I usually, if I remember to, if I'm going on TV, I'll put something on Twitter, if I get booked on something. So that's kind of it.
Well,
that's pretty much that's how I roll.
I like how you roll, and I'm not just being nice to you because if you've not noticed, I'm just really not nice in general. But having you on the show and getting to talk to you and hear somebody besides myself rattling on about these things really means a lot. And I totally cut Jason off because I fangirled and he didn't get to talk much. Sorry, Jason. Are you still even there?
I'm sorry, I fell
Thanks for
asleep.
having me on. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. And you know what? Anytime, folks, if you get a chance, go follow Cheri out on Twitterland. Support her because she is fighting the good fight. My friend, you take care of yourself.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
You too.
All right, bye. Jason, do you hate me?
Welcome back, folks, to According to Bunny. I'm the producer.
It was like getting to talk to my friend, and I totally cut you out. So if you want to throw me out in the backyard, I'm good with that. I'm sorry.
So I'm sorry. I'm producing for the rest of the show. So go ahead and take it away. Well, I'll tell you what. Here's what I
great, right?
Maybe I'll be. Can I at least talk about Amazon.com and their amazing products they have, and the way that our friends here on Polititainment.com use and place on yourself, or you can do that. They're made of soft silicone.
Why?
There's 2 nipples per order. It comes with a cleaner, so if they get dirty or maybe you get some hair on them or whatever, you can clean them real quickly. And they're available in 3 sizes: small, medium, and large, and 4 shades: ivory, almond, bronze, and tawny. I want the medium tawny nipples. So if someone can send those to me for Kwanzaa, I would appreciate that. And, of course, you can get that on Amazon.com by simply going to Polititainment.net and click on the Amazon banner at the top of the page and type in Amina, Amoena, adhesive nipples, or someone can share that in the chat room. And, or if you're a perv, which there's many of you on Twitter or probably in the chat room, maybe you just want to buy some fake nipples and play with them because if you had your own, that's all you would do is sit at home all day and play with your nipples. So just throwing that out there as an idea.
Everybody has nipples, pretty much. I mean,
well, no, but these are women nipples, not just.
How do you know the difference between a woman nipple and a man nipple?
Oh, come on, really? Do I have to? Really?
Yeah, I've seen women's nipples and I've seen men's nipples, and they're not that.
There's
different.
quite a difference. I I don't know if I actually have to explain that to you on the radio. But for those of you in the chat room, I'm sure you're aware of the difference between male and women nipples. But, hey, maybe you want to buy some fake male nipples and play with those. I don't really care. Maybe that's what Sam will do.
Is there like a write-up about what the nipples are for? Is it?
No, not really. It just talks about, if some people actually need them for medical reasons. Maybe they lost one in surgery or breast cancer. So I get that. So I'm not trying to be insensitive. I'm trying to cater towards the pervs who are going to buy them, not because they're necessary, because they just want to play with fake nipples all day. And you can do that.
How much are they?
On Amazon.
Again.
They're $29 to $44.
Why are some nipples more expensive than other nipples?
Because they're bigger. Hello.
Oh, God.
So if you have bigger nipples, they're going to cost you more. But they're free shipping either way, so it's a good thing. So I'm just throwing that out there as something to maybe consider.
You scare me. This is not quite as bad as the whole unicorn gay dinosaur thing. That was a series last week. That was crazy. But I guess if you want big nipples, it's $44. And you want what color?
It's a small price to pay, really, if you think about it.
I guess if you want a big pair of medium tawny nipples.
Yeah, tawny. I don't even know what tawny is. What the hell is tawny?
Tawny is like a shade of brown.
Oh, then I want medium tawny. That's what I want.
You want brown nipples?
Yeah, medium though. I don't want to go too big.
It's Christmas time, so why not?
No. Actually, I ask for all my gifts are Kwanzaa gifts, as everyone knows who's listening to the show.
Because are you being considerate or
Yeah, no, I celebrate Kwanzaa with the best of them.
So I should send you medium, tawny, large nipples for Kwanzaa.
No, medium.
Medium.
Medium,
medium
size,
large
large is an overindulgent. I don't need all that.
Fine,
there are people around the world who are in much more dire need of large tawny nipples than myself. Medium's fine.
You scare me, but that's great. Speaking
of being scared, Sam, I do, despite not talking for 20 minutes on a show.
Oh my God, I'm never going to hear the end of that.
I do care about you, and I know you don't feel well, especially today. And before we get into the asshead of the week, I wanted you to make sure you got a good night rest tonight. And there is, I think, a way. Some people listen to thunderstorms. Some people listen to the sound of the ocean. But there's a new series coming out with a presidential candidate I think you'd be interested in, Sam, and I want you and the audience to hear about it. See what you think. Do you think this will help you out tonight?
Sure. Let's hear it.
Now, it's story time with Dr. Ben Carson. Tonight, Dr. Ben Carson reads us Goodnight Moon. In the great green room, there was a telephone and a red balloon and a picture of the cow jumping over the moon. And there were 3 little bears sitting on chairs, and there were 2 little kittens and a pair of mittens and a little toy house and a young mouse and a comb and a brush and a bowl full of mush and a quiet old lady who was whispering hush. A good night room, a good night moon, a good night cow jumping over the moon, a good night light and the red balloon, a good night bears, a good night chairs, a good night kittens and good night mittens, a good night clocks, a good night socks, a good night little house, and a good night mouse. Good night comb, and you're already asleep. Night night. Join us next time for Story Time with Dr. Ben Carson.
See, Sam, you could use. Sam? Oh, geez, guys, she's already out. Well, I know she wasn't feeling well.
Yeah.
So, maybe.
I'm
Sam,
kidding.
you there? Wake up.
That was scary.
Well, it's Ben. He was reading you Goodnight Moon. He was trying to be considerate, and it'll knock. Again,
He's a giver.
He's a giver, and you need to get a good night rest. So I suggest you listen to that later on. Within a minute and a half, you're out. I mean, you're absolutely out. And speaking of being out, speaking of a minute and a half, because that's about what it needs to be. Actually, not even that. It is time for this week's Asshat of the Week.
For this week's Asshat of the Week.
All right, this week's Ass Hat of the Week is actually 3 people. This is the first time I've ever done multiple people that are Ass Hats of the Week. And that is Todd Bailey, Alexandra McLean, and Nick Sherman. Now, these folks make up the company KSE Partners. And KSE Partners launched an amazing new product sweeping the nation called Bernie's Briefs, in which you, for just the cool low price of $15, can buy a pair of tidy whities with Bernie Sanders' face on your ass, saying "Feel the burn." Now, couple thoughts in regards to this. One, I find it funny that a company that is starting their own business venture, actually embracing capitalism, of course supports Bernie effing Sanders, who's the opposite of anything to do with capitalism. That's item 1. Item 2, the fact that they're $15, but 10% goes to charity, just makes me laugh my ass off. And the way I look at it is, if you really, I want to give my friends, even though they're the Ass Hats of the Week, Todd, Alexandra, Nick, I want to give you some feedback. Here's what I would do. I would put a double layer of cotton on the right side of at least the male underwear, because women can buy these too, by the way. But I would do that because if you truly support Bernie Sanders, your ass will be on fire due to the raping that you will get out of your paycheck every single week. So at least make them flame retardant so your ass doesn't burn when you bend over every single paycheck when Bernie Sanders is your president. So Todd, Alexandra, Nick, KSE Partners, the group, the whole lot of you, you are this week's Ass Hat of the Week.
Tune in next week for another exciting installment of Ass Hat of the Week.
That's going to put the finishing touches on this week's episode of According to Me and Bunny. We did a lot this evening. We had a good old time. Sam talked and had an interview with somebody for 20 minutes. We talked. No, actually, it was a great guest. Cheri Jacobus, we're glad that she was on the show.
Wonderful.
She was great, and we did that. Let's see, we talked about cops having security cameras. We talked about Sam going undercover and spelling things wrong to be a Trump supporter. And we learned that when you feel the burn and you want to make underwear that's $15, your Ass Hats of the Week. That's going to, of course, put the finishing touches on the show, but we'll be back next week faster than you could say furious with another episode of According to Me and Bunny. But until then, good night, America. Sam, feel better.
I will. Thanks, guys.
Bye, guys.